What is going on, guys? My name is Kevin, and in today's video we're going to be doing a 1 month later review of the Samsung Galaxy A80. Now this phone is a step up in terms of specs and price from the A70 I previously reviewed, but for that extra money you're getting some killer features, so we're going to talk about all of those and answer all of your important questions. To start, let's talk about the main features and what bells and whistles they've put onto the phone. The camera is a slide and pop-up module, more intricate than what we find on other flagships like the OnePlus 7 Pro. This allows you to take selfies with that main 48 megapixel camera. The build materials here are solid. Not only does the phone feel hefty and premium, but the Gorilla Glass 6 back will hold up much better than glossy plastic. Next to the iPhone X, you can just see how big the A80 is. It has a 6.7-inch Super Amoled display with no notch, and the bezels around the sides are quite thin. Samsung calls this their new Infinity display, and it's the first of its kind on a Galaxy phone. Still only 1080p, but at 393 pixels per inch, there are no complaints. After having used the A70 and the A80 for the past couple of months, I've really come to appreciate that 20:9 aspect ratio because, as I've said in all my reviews, I love watching movies and videos on my phone. The viewing angles, colors, and brightness are phenomenal as you'd expect from Samsung AMOLEDs. Around the sides you have the tactile aluminum volume rockers and power button, then on the bottom you have the USB-C charging port, the loudspeaker, and of course, the SIM tray. So with the pop-up module moving up all the way, you might be wondering how is that going to play out with the phone case? Well, the one that Samsung includes in the box actually slides all the way up, and this is the biggest trade-off in my opinion of having this type of pop-up module. The top being left fully exposed is just prone to accidents, but I've been really careful with my phone and it's in all-around near mint condition. Now besides the case I mentioned, Samsung has pre-applied a plastic screen protector on these phones and included some other welcomed accessories like the earbuds and a super fast 25-watt charging adapter. The non-removable 3700 mAh battery of the A80 does not come close to the capacity of the A70 being 4500 mAh, but it'll still get me through a day easily, not through the end of the second day stretch. If you want to see more detailed comparison between the A70 and the A80, let me know. If you remember, I gave the A70 a pass on its Subpar fingerprint scanner because on-screen fingerprint sensors are rarely found on budget and mid-tier phones. Unfortunately, the A80, even in its higher price tier, does seem to use the same fingerprint scanner. This would not be a problem for me if they hadn't taken out the option to use Face Unlock. I suppose this omission makes sense because that flip-out motor takes over a full second to actuate. A comment from Suraj pointed out on my A70 review that registering the same finger multiple times will help the phone scan faster, and while this very well may have worked for you, doing this on my A80 did not change a single thing, and it's still slower than I would like. Before I talk about the phone's speed and cameras, I have to mention two cons, and that's the lack of water resistance rating and no wireless charging. At this price point, I really would have liked to have seen these additions made, but it does make up for it with the phone's performance. So inside of the A80, we have Qualcomm's Snapdragon 730 processor, which is an 8nm chipset, on top of the Adreno 618 graphics. That, combined with 8GB of RAM, makes this phone quite comparable to much more expensive flagships like the OnePlus 7 Pro in nearly every single way except for the most demanding of games. I noticed a tiny bit of jitter in PUBG when settings were cranked all the way up, but this wasn't replicable on camera, and that goes to say that the Snapdragon chips have gotten more reliable, and for the 99% of you out there, the phone's performance will be great. I love playing Call of Duty Mobile and Modern Strike on this display. Without a notch, there's no need for super intrusive black bars, and I personally find the gaming experience on this phone quite immersive. To get the absolute most of this phone's speed day to day, I went into settings and then developer options and scaled down animations to a half. This makes a drastic difference when opening up apps and closing apps, and I recommend you guys try it out if you have an Android phone. So on the A80 we have Android 9 Pie and One UI, which is now my favorite skin on top of Android, only second to stock Android of course. Bixby is still a hard pass for me, I just never find myself using it, but Samsung's Health app integrates seamlessly with my Galaxy Watch Active, and I can finally get to use those extra features in the Samsung ecosystem. Let's talk about that camera. The main 48 megapixel camera sensor does a good job with details, dynamic range, and sharpness stood out to me as a strong point. Unedited photos also already have good saturation. Now in dimly lit scenarios or low light, photos are not on par with what you'd get from an iPhone or a Pixel phone, and I largely attribute this fact to auto mode seeming to favor dropping shutter speed as opposed to bumping up ISO. What this does to the end result is make photos softer than they should be. Still, at this time, we do not have Instagram mode on the Galaxy A series devices, but we have all my favorite features like night mode, pro mode, and that live photo mode, which is kind of like a portrait blur for photos and videos. With the A80 in particular, software stabilization is good enough that I didn't mind the omission of an optical axis. There is one minor critique I have for Samsung, and it can entirely be done through a software update. We've already got this array of cameras turning around and flipping over, so why not let us use that back-facing flash for selfies? This makes sense to me because on the lowest power mode, the flashlight isn't blinding, and it sure as heck beats using that front-facing screen flash. As a company that boasts and markets these unique small features, I don't really know how this went under their radar. Overall, I think Samsung's A80 is not for everyone, but if you're a fan of that infinity notchless display and the swivel camera has caught your eye, this is gonna be the phone for you. And with specs like these and 128GB of storage, it is not a bad purchase. This being said, before you make any decision, I highly advise you to watch my Galaxy A70 review if you haven't already. It's a more budget-oriented phone that's selling like crazy for a reason. So hopefully I've answered all of your important questions about the Galaxy A80. I know this is a big purchase, so if there's anything that you did not see me talk about and you want to see answered before you pick up the phone, drop that down below in a comment, and of course I will hit you back with a reply. But I've got tons of videos for you guys coming your way, wearable tech videos, comparisons, and all sorts of stuff, so make sure you are subscribed if you are not already, with notifications turned on for that, and as always, I'll talk to you guys in the next video.